Sarah, thank you. Meanwhile, 14 Democrats are demanding Khalil's immediate release, including, shocker, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who posted on X a signed letter to the Trump administration claiming Khalil's arrest was illegal, calling it a dangerous precedent for the violation of our First Amendment rights to free speech and due process. For more on this, let's welcome in foreign policy expert Harley Lippman. Thanks for coming back to the Leventhal Report, Harley. Why would any lawmaker side with someone accused of supporting a terrorist organization, leading demonstrations attacking Jewish students? Shouldn't their priority be tax-paying, law-abiding U.S. citizens?
Absolutely. What this lawmaker fails to realize is that the Immigration Department is simply following through on implementing the law. And the law states very clearly that if you're a foreign student here and you're on a visa and you support an organization that's a terrorist organization, then you could have your visa and green card denied. It's absolutely legal. So this is different from that of an American citizen. So it's not a violation of free speech. I'll add further that everybody's in favor of free speech. But when it encourages or explicitly calls for violence, then it's no longer free speech. That is something dangerous that endangers the security and the safety of other students. And the organization that he was a leader of has said that the October 7th attack by Hamas was correct. It was a moral victory, a political victory. They also said that liberating Palestine, no matter what it takes, no matter what the means, is justified, which is a code for violence, which is a code for raping and murdering innocent people, which is exactly what Hamas did on October 7th. So you can't have free speech if you're advocating the violence and death of innocent people or other people.
Well, I said from early on, I couldn't believe the Biden administration was letting this happen, allowing it to happen without protecting the Jewish students. And I said before, and I'll say again, if these were black students who were being protested against, or Asian students, or members of any other minority group, my bet is the Biden administration would have jumped in immediately and shut it down. But they allowed it to happen with Jewish students, and we still have Democratic lawmakers who are fighting for the agitator and not for the victims.
No, you're spot on. This is what I say. I give an example, and I'm on the board of Columbia School of International and Public Affairs, where this person was a student and graduated from. And clearly, as I said earlier, free speech is not free if you advocate violence towards someone else. And that's exactly what they're doing. So someone has to share with Democratic lawmakers that, especially when you have a foreign student that is given the privilege of studying here, is given financial support, and they're on a visa, there are certain rules that have to be followed. And one of them is not to support a terrorist organization. Moreover, which is something I'm not hearing about, but last April, he has said that he was on a student visa, and now we find out he's on a green card, which implies he lied. And if you lie when you apply for a green card, those are reasons for immediate deportation. And the lie that he would have committed is they ask in the application for a green card, have you ever supported any organization that advocates terrorism or the overthrow of the United States government? And the group that he leads at Columbia calls for the eradication of Western civilization. That's a clear statement of the overthrow of the United States, because we are the leader of Western civilization.
Well, he messed around and found out, or at least it looks like he will. Earlier today, the president was asked about deporting pro-Palestinian agitators, and he said this.
I think we ought to get them all out of the country. They're troublemakers. They're agitators. They don't love our country. We ought to get him the hell out. I think that guy, we ought to get him. I heard his statements, too. They were plenty bad. And I think we ought to get him the hell out of the country.
Well, I talked about this in my monologue, Harley. I don't know if you heard it, but basically the point is you are here on your best behavior. You should be, at least. You should be appreciative of all that you're enjoying here in America. and to spit in the face of the Jewish students at that institution, to spit in the face of the laws of this country when you're here as a guest, I mean, you get out. You're gone.
And to elaborate a little bit on your comment about spitting in the face of Jewish students, what they would typically do is there'd be a group of them wearing a mask, maybe 6 to 10 of them. They would surround a student who happens to be Jewish, often women students, and they would harass her. They would get too close to her, and harassment would take place one of two ways. Either they would say, "What's your view on Gaza? What's your view on the war?" Clearly in a very intimidating way that frightens these Jewish students. Or worse, they'll say you're committing genocide. You're part of a group that wants to kill innocent Palestinians. They'll say things like that, and that is very frightening to a student whose only association with Israel happens to be that they're Jewish. They may even be against the Israeli government or maybe against the war in Gaza. But just because they're Jewish, they're being harassed. And President Trump is doing something that the universities are not. The universities are either unable or unwilling to enforce their laws. And President Trump is taking the initiative to enforce these laws that really should be done by the universities themselves. So bravo to President Trump to making America more safe for everyone.
Harley Lippman, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts on this and for coming back to the show. Coming